Well, thank you very much. And now Kenya has made major strides in the fight against female genital mutilation, but there are emerging concerns regarding the medicalization of the practice. The Kenya Mediographic and Health Survey 2014 indicated that FGM prevalence has declined from 38% in 2008 to 21% in 2014. But the fact that communities that still believe that FGM must be part of their community is coming of age ritual and is taking to a new level by colluding with medics who cut the girls in clinics far away from the law enforcers. We are now joined by Mary Wandia. She is the FGM program manager from an organization called Equality Now. Very good afternoon, Wandia. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, we're coming from a point where every time we talk about FGM, the first thing that comes into our mind are old women with some rusted, knives. Now we are seeing it's now becoming medicalization where professionals are involved. Are we making any strides to eradicating FGM?
We are, because when you look at the national average, as you have just pointed out, the prevalence has dropped to 21%. And the trend has been, we've been dropping at 6 percentage points every 5 years. But now the challenge that we have, so that's a gain, but now the challenge we have is that out of those 21%, is that 40% of FGM is now performed by health personnel.
Yes.
So this means a doctor, a midwife, a nurse in hospital, or even outside hospitals, because they go to homes or where the ceremonies are held. So that is a big challenge because health practitioners should be at the forefront of educating the public and those who are seeking the service on the harmful effects. Because whether it's done by the quack or by the medical personnel, the harmful consequences are the same.
Yes.
And further to that is that it is illegal. And we have a law, the Prohibition of FGM Act of 2011, and it has indicated that even if it's performed by health personnel, it's illegal. Even if the health personnel claim that a client consented to it. Because the medical ethics, we know the medical ethics always is do no harm. So when a medical personnel does FGM, they are doing harm because what we know is that it's a healthy organ. So why are you interfering?
That's right.
But further to that is that no doctor is trained to perform FGM. So it's still a quack when it comes to performing because you're not trained.
Yes.
And then, in fact, where it leads to death, the law says you go in for life imprisonment. But the biggest challenge has been we don't report as Kenyans.
Yes.
It's done in secret. And then it has become so normalized. So even the doctors performing them, you always find they come from the practicing communities. There may be a few who want to make a buck here and there, but we need to work with the medical boards. We need to work with the Ministry of Health to ensure that it is integrated in the training curriculum so that they know the effects. And then when the people go to ask for it, they educate them.
How then do we deal with these medics who are now coming from, as you clearly said, some of them come from those communities. So they feel that, let me go out there and do this, but do it the right way.
What we're doing,
how do we deal with them?
We talking about it, like how we are doing it here, so that many people get the message that FGM is not safe when it's done by health personnel. But I think beyond that is what I said, educating the public to understand the harmful effects of FGM and to know that FGM is a human rights violation. So you can't hide under, I did it in hospital, it's a culture, because we also know we had other cultures that we have stopped. So we need to stop it. And then we also now need to educate people on the law. And then the Ministry of Health needs to ensure that we integrate it in the medical training curriculum. Then we have the law. We need to enforce it. But to enforce it within the public coming out to report. We already have an anti-FGM prosecution unit within the Office of the Directorate for Public Prosecution. We have about 76 cases that have been prosecuted. 16 have been determined. So I think in Kenya, it's a good time for us now to have a case prosecuting a health personnel that has performed FGM, because it will deter others.
Okay.
Yes.
It's happening, while I was going through this and earlier on we were discussing about it, and it's also happening not only in Kenya, like in London, for example. We're seeing that even within that area, there's a lot of FGM happening. Is it that we have not yet trained people enough? Is it that, you know, and for somebody to get into a plane and go to London, for example, you're thinking this is somebody who's gone to school, then where are we going wrong?
What happens is that it is an ingrained cultural practice. And what has happened is that we are living in a global village. So what happens, we are migrating. So the practicing communities are all over the world, are moving to other parts of the world. So FGM has become a global issue. So my organization, Equality Now, and others, we have been advocating within the Sustainable Development Goals to have FGM put as a global problem, to be tracked and measures taken all over the world. Because I can give you an example. You come from a practicing community in Northeastern, or in Pokot, or in Kajiado. You migrate to the United States or to the United Kingdom. You still practice. That's what has been happening. They are practicing in the UK. And we have a law in Kenya, we have a law in the UK. But because the enforcement of the law in the UK is stronger, where they have gotten to protection, they're even stopping girls from flying out when they think that they are at risk. So what has been happening, there's what is called vacation cutting. So there are a lot of Kenyan communities coming during the summer holiday. They come into Kenya because they can afford to go and hide somewhere and have the health personnel do it. And they are paying huge fees. So it's been so difficult to locate the clinics. Sometimes they're done in homes. It's been so difficult, but it's a global problem. That's why we need cross-border solutions. Because in our FGM Act, already the good thing is that we already have a provision that if you take somebody outside the country or arrange for somebody to come from another country to do FGM in Kenya, it is against the law. But now the challenge has been, given the secretive nature, we need the law enforcement agencies to investigate and identify those areas. All the clinics we hear in Isili, the doctors doing it, the clinics in Kisii, in Northeastern, we just need to decide that we need to stop it. We
have many of these young girls who have been sort of brainwashed. Saw one on TV the other day, and she was saying that before she underwent the FGM, she used to hang around with boys, you know, and now that she has gone through it, she has changed. What are you doing, your organization, and you know, every person who is indeed working on this? What are you doing to make sure that you change the mindset, especially of the young girls?
Yes, what we've been doing, for instance, Equality Now, we work with a partner in Narok, where it's also prevalent. Tasarum, Tomonoki Initiative. So what they've been doing is educate the community. They approach the community, the elders, the local authorities. Then they train them about the law, about the effects. Then they encourage them to bring their children for what they call an alternative rite of passage. So the same way you are secluded traditionally and you are taught and then you undergo FGM, they will have the girls teach them about their body, about their rights, about the good aspects of like the Maasai culture, the bad aspect, child marriage, FGM. Then they tell them how they can prevent themselves from FGM. Then at the end of the 5th day, they do a graduation ceremony. So you still go through the rite of passage, which is what the culture demands, but without FGM. Then what they've also been doing as a result of that, they have girls running away. Coming to them. So what they do is that they take those girls into a shelter that they have set aside. Then they start negotiations with the parents, using the local authorities.
Okay.
So the parents agree to reconcile with the girls on condition that they will not subject them to FGM.
Yes.
And they do another ceremony of reconciliation, and they go back home. There's reconciliation that doesn't work. There are negotiations that don't lead to reconciliation. So they keep the girls in the center and support them through well wishers to continue with education.
Yes.
And these girls have turned out to be role models for the community. But then this is an ungovernmental initiative. We need such shelters everywhere.
Okay.
We need the education of the communities everywhere. So that then when in school they are taught, you can save very many girls. But each county needs different strategies. You can use that in Narok and Kajiado because they're subjected to FGM when they are like 6, 7, 8 years.
Yes.
But where it's done, and that has been also the other trend, the parents are mutilating the girls when they are even 2 months.
Wow.
2 years, so that they are not
by the time
subjected to the law.
Yes.
So the key thing is educating, enforcing the law, providing services. Because we can't as non-governmental organization offer the services. So we are advocating with government. We have an anti-FGM board that it takes on that education role, creates a multi-sectoral committee where all ministries, Ministry of Health does its role with the medical practitioners, Ministry of Education and Information educate the public, the law enforcement prosecute, arrest. Then the community set up, we have the rescue centers for the girls. We know the FGM seasons, so why do we still wait for the statistics? So our challenge now is how do you prevent, not even arrest. How do you prevent? Then how do you offer services also for the girls who have undergone FGM?
So finally, as we finish up, is there hope? Are we going to eradicate this?
Yes, I think Kenya is at a tipping point. If we have been on a downward trend, every 6 years we are going down 6 percentage points, we are at a tipping point. Either we are going to consolidate the gains or we will go backwards. So we need to address the medicalization, and we really need to enforce the law and ensure that we educate the communities and we arrest the perpetrators.
Wandia, I must thank you very much for coming over and just shedding light on this whole issue as to what exactly is happening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we wish you all the best in eradicating this vice.
Thank you.